Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, the FBI was searching for top secret documents about U.S. nuclear weapons reportedly stashed at Mar-a-Lago. So we're breaking down the legal case backing the raid on former President Trump's home.
As kids go back to school and we all go back to normal life, the new advice from the country's top doctors for how to respond to COVID as polls show how many Americans consider the pandemic over.
And the Broncos and Cowboys duked it out at practice yesterday, the last one that was open to fans. And tomorrow they kick off their first preseason game against the Cowboys, and Broncos thought they did pretty well yesterday, protecting their home turf. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
I'm Nicole Brady. Orange Friday. We got the Broncos spirit here today. Lisa, it's going to be a hot one outside, though. How's the game forecast looking?
It looks good. Yeah, it'll be hot, though, if you're tailgating tomorrow. I'll show you that full forecast for tomorrow night coming up. Beautiful as you walk out the door, though, this morning. Sunny skies. It looks a lot like yesterday. We're going to see sunshine dominate across the plains. A few storms for the mountains, but 60s here early this morning as you step out the door. We're already at 70 out at the airport, 72 in Broomfield, and 64 right now in Littleton. So it's a good-looking pool forecast. Your kids are going to see some mid to upper 90s here this afternoon, whether they're heading to the pool after school or if they're still on summer break. It'll be a hot, dry day for it today. Highlands Ranch 95, Boulder today 94. The record high today 100. So yesterday we broke the record high when we hit 98. Today we'll get close to it, but I don't think we're going to get quite to 100. So far, Jason, this year, 105. I almost said 100 degree. That would be a lot.
That would be a lot.
5 100-degree plus days.
That's a lot.
We might tack on another before the season's over.
And right now, if you've been anywhere downtown along the 16th Street Mall, you know about the construction down there as they're redoing the entire mall ride for us. And so you see that there are sections of it that are still closed across central Denver downtown, and you still have some cross traffic that's going to be affected by it as well as they continue to tear it up. But you can still walk through there. You just don't have the buses along 16th. They've been moved out to 15th and 17th streets, but you see all that work that's going on down there right now. Take a look at the drive across I-70. Also a lot of work right here. They'll be changing this. They'll make it all westbound lanes here in another couple weeks. At the end of the month, we'll be driving on only westbound I-70 and have all that extra lane there to deal with. The rest of the drive, as you can see around town, looks pretty good. Just getting busier on that north side. No other major issues for you, really, across town right now.
Former President Trump is calling for an immediate release of the Mar-a-Lago search warrant.
Yeah, this comes hours before a key Department of Justice deadline. Attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford is here with these overnight developments of what was in the warrant and what we could learn from its release.
That's right. But first, let me walk you through exactly what former President Donald Trump had to say about the possible release of those documents. First of all, he seemed very supportive of the release, writing this on social media, saying in part, "Not only will I not oppose the release of the documents, I'm going a step further by encouraging the immediate release of those documents." While he spoke out on social media, that is still not a formal response to Attorney General Merrick Garland's attempt to unseal the warrant. Trump has until 1 p.m. our time to oppose its release. Many people have questioned how the FBI can secure a warrant to search a home. The bar is not very high. The law enforcement has to present probable cause that evidence of a crime exists. And when law enforcement executes a search warrant, they can't just go looking anywhere they want to. These are very narrow in scope, so they can only search a particular location, and they have to list generally what they're looking for. Sometimes these warrants have attachments, which would list the laws that the DOJ believes were violated and possibly an inventory of those items that were removed. This search does seem to be galvanizing for Trump's base. Some GOP leaders slamming the DOJ and the FBI, calling the search political and vowing investigations into this search if they do retake Congress in November. Garland had this to say about it.
I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked. The men and women of the FBI and the Justice Department are dedicated, patriotic public servants. Every day, they protect the American people.
And Trump did receive a request months ago to turn over documents that had not been turned over to the National Archives. So that suggests that maybe this search was not as big of a surprise as it may have appeared. Live in Denver, I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Thank you, Jessica. Well, this morning we know the FBI was looking for classified documents related to nuclear weapons at Mar-a-Lago. The Washington Post reports experts in top secret information are concerned those documents could fall into the wrong hands if they're not protected. Details about nuclear weapons could provide foreign agencies a roadmap to counter those systems. The FBI has not commented on whether or not they were able to successfully retrieve the classified documents.
And there's growing suspicion someone within Trump's inner circle told investigators where to find the classified material. The inner circle is pretty small. Former acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney estimated only between 6 to 8 people are close enough to the former president, to know that information. We will continue to follow the investigation as it unfolds. Of course, Trump's deadline to respond 1 p.m. today. You can catch the latest on the air and online at thedenverchannel.com. How much is COVID really on your mind these days? A new survey finds 4 in 10 Americans say life is fully back to normal. 42% say it'll still be another year before things get back to normal. 23% say we'll live with the virus forever. But in this survey, more than half of Americans said they are no longer taking any COVID precautions like wearing a mask.
And the guidance to handle the coronavirus is changing. There's much more focus on outbreaks of cases, not individual ones, and just trying to keep the severity of the virus down. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us with new recommendations as kids return to school.
Well, for more than 2 years now, we've heard things like try and stay at least 6 feet away from people to try and reduce that risk of getting COVID. But just yesterday, the CDC released new guidelines. Those guidelines, they shift way past from where we were in terms of the pandemic in those really early days. So those guidelines now saying that we as a nation should move away from things like quarantining, even social distancing, instead really focusing in on preventing severe illness from COVID-19. Now, the shift in guidelines, it really goes to show just how far we've come since the start of the pandemic. Mainly, that's the fact that most of the U.S. has at least some kind of immunity, right? Some people have gotten that vaccine, other people have been infected, and then of course there's that group that's gotten both. Now, when it comes to people who aren't vaccinated and have been exposed to COVID, the CDC now saying you don't have to quarantine, just mask up for 10 days and then get a test 5 days after being exposed. Interestingly enough, the FDA said Thursday it's now recommending you take 3 home tests if you're exposed to COVID to help boost the accuracy of those tests, make sure you get that right result. Now, here at home, local guidance, that's also changed a bit. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment now telling school districts they shouldn't so much be focusing on those individual breakouts, instead those big outbreaks. And of course, all of this coming as we continue seeing those COVID hospitalizations go down, which is a good thing. We're in Denver this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Yeah, that's been great news. Thanks, Veronica. Well, if you have questions about COVID or anything else, if you are a DPS parent, you can talk with district leaders and school board members tomorrow.
What we have heard from folks is, how is their child going to be returning to the first normal school year since the COVID-19 pandemic, which is a key question. And what we've told them is that we're working diligently with the superintendent to ensure that if anything ever needed to change, that our parents would be a key decision maker in that process.
Tay Anderson and other board members will be answering questions about innovation schools, special education, and other issues. There are meetings tomorrow at 11:45 at Athmar Rec Center and 2 p.m. at Lake Middle School. Denver Public Schools start school the week after next.
The Broncos will be back out at Empower Field tomorrow as we take a live look at the stadium this morning. The team's first preseason game is against the Cowboys at 7 p.m. Saturday. Got a little chippy between the two teams on the practice field yesterday. They got into it a handful of times. Punches were thrown. They were shoving each other. About 6,000 fans were at this joint practice at the UC Health Training Center. Outside of the pushing and shoving, though, it was actually a great day for the Broncos offense. Quarterback Russell Wilson was throwing touchdowns, not punches, and couldn't stop bragging on his teammates.
I give credit to the guys, man. The investment they've put into it every day, every moment. It's all about them, and what they've done. It's been a joy to be able to work with them.
Speaking of Russell, it is unclear how much he'll play tomorrow night in that first preseason game. Hopefully the opening series, at least, for the fans. So we've been talking about the Broncos so much lately, but we can't forget that the countdown to college football is also underway. The CSU Rams are in their first year under head coach Jay Norvell, who is working them hard up in Fort Collins, trying to bounce back in the competitive Mountain West Conference. Norvell spent the last 4 years at Nevada. He says to expect a pass-heavy offense. Should be exciting. I had a chance to talk to him as he stopped by Denver 7 yesterday. They open against mighty Michigan at the Big House Labor Day weekend, but he is most excited about their home schedule.
We're so excited. We don't have any night games this year at home. Most of our games are at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we want to invite our Denver fans and all our CSU fans to come tailgate in Fort Collins, see a great game, and then have fun after with their friends and just make it a great experience. So we're inviting everybody to come out.
So here's a look at their home schedule this year. The Rams host Middle Tennessee in their home opener September 10th. Their conference games are against Utah State, Hawaii, Wyoming, and New Mexico. They are at Air Force November 19th, so some good rivalry games there. And they invite you to meet the team tomorrow. Their Ram Fan Fest is from noon to 2 p.m. at the stadium. Their women's football clinic is from 4 to 8 p.m. That will have an auction and hors d'oeuvres and drinks. Proceeds go to Ram Strength, which provides support to cancer survivors and their nutrition program.
Just when gas prices are coming down, there's a new disruption to oil production in the Gulf. Why Shell and Chevron had to shut down massive platforms.
And one of the nation's largest art events returns to the Front Range. What to know before heading out to Loveland's sculpture in the park.